As a songwriter, I nearly always wished that turning bland, predictable lyrics into something more unique didn't feel like pulling my own teeth out. But what if the secret to writing better lyrics was not to focus on words and to focus on something else? If I said to you, I drove my car across the country, what kind of car are you picturing? Well, probably not the same kind of car I'm picturing. But if I said I drove my '69 orange Dodge Charger across the country, now we're picturing the same thing. Well, if you're my age, you're probably picturing this. Oh, boss hog, will you ever learn? You see, I directed your imagination to see what I wanted you to see. When we're writing lyrics, if we leave questions in the listener's mind, they're going to fill in the blanks for themselves. Now, I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but to bring them into an experience and get them to feel what we want them to feel, we need to be able to point their imagination in the right direction. And I'm not just talking about how we describe a situation, but I'm talking about how can we describe a situation in a way that gets the listener to feel how we want them to feel. Lyric writing is like every other part of songwriting. It's about making creative choices. Now, how you make those creative choices comes down to your personal tastes and preference, but how you execute those choices comes down to the tools and knowing how to use them. So the first step is to realize there's a spectrum of specificity when it comes to writing lyrics. For example, if you wanted to say something like "I love you," how would you write that in a new, fresh, unique way? Well, we could use figurative language.
Your magical mystery ride, and I'm so dizzy, don't know.
Or we could use specific moments that shows the audience what our love looks like.
We'll be together. The roof right overhead, we'll share the center on my single bed, we'll share the same room.
I'm not saying one is better than the other. I know which one I prefer. But when we're writing lyrics, we have to choose which way we want to go. We have to decide what's important and how we want the audience to experience it. That's why when it comes to writing lyrics, the best tools we have are these authentic moments from our own experience and being able to write about them in a way that the audience can experience it for themselves. So if we want to create a unique experience with our lyrics, one of the best ways to start is by painting a picture of the situation that's causing an emotion or problem. And then this gives the listener a chance to experience it for themselves. And one of the best tools to practice this is the spectrum of specificity. If we use generic words to describe something, different people are going to picture different things. For example, a car. So with the spectrum, we put these generic words in the middle. Then on the bottom end of the spectrum, where it's all vague and muddy, a listener is not going to be able to get a clear picture at all. So we might have a word like ride or even transport. Then on the top end of the spectrum, where everything's crystal clear and specific, everyone is going to be able to see the same thing. Vague words create a muddy picture. Specific words create a clear picture. But you want to remember, sometimes good writing comes down to asking good questions. So what if you wanted to paint a picture of something that's non-visual? Let's say you wanted to describe a sound. Now how are we going to picture that? Well, start asking yourself some questions. What did you hear? And what kind of sound was it? And what did that sound like? Was it boots crunching on gravel as they walked up the driveway? Or was it scuffling of bare feet on a deep shag carpet? And keep asking questions like that. What was the tone, the loudness? How did that sound? But like I said earlier, if we leave questions in the listener's mind, they're going to fill in the blanks. So practicing this kind of writing allows us to choose what blanks they're going to fill in and points their imagination to where we want it to go. But to pull this off, we want our writing to be an authentic expression of who we are. So keep it specific and descriptive, but also keep it conversational. If you wouldn't say it that way, then you probably shouldn't write it that way. Because remember, if we choose a highly specific or a fancy word, that's going to draw attention to itself. And it's our job to decide which way we want people's attention to go. For example, I walked down a lonely street versus I perambulated along a lonely street. Now, if lonely street is where you want people's attention to be, this guy's distracting from that. So we need to ask ourselves when we're doing this exercise, has what we've done actually added anything to our writing? Has it made it more engaging, more colourful, more interesting? Or are we just making word salad for the sake of it? The specificity spectrum should be a personal thing, and the way we feel on the inside is going to change how we see and interact with the world around us. And usually it's way more interesting to write in a way that shows people how you feel rather than just telling them how you feel. Look at how Donald Henley colours this description with a feeling of longing and nostalgia by using a particular time of year, the end of summer.
Nobody on the road, nobody on the beach. I feel it in the air, the summer's out of reach. Empty lake, empty streets, the sun goes down alone.
He uses a situation that has the emotions he's trying to get across already baked into it. I know when I hear that song, I think of my own memories and feelings about the end of summer, not his. It's like he's painting a picture with his words, and we, the audience, get to fill in the colours with our own experiences. Because it's one thing to know how to write a good description, but it's quite another thing to know how to use it in a song. And if you want to know how to do that, watch this video next. It'll give you a powerful way to write lyrics that can trigger the reaction in the audience that you want it to.